There is a reason you have felt like you were standing at the edge of something you could not see. You have prayed about this relationship, you have questioned it, you have tried to release it, and yet somehow the story never completely disappeared. But what if the thing keeping you two apart was never the person you thought it was? What if the delay was not the end? What if there was one final obstacle that had to move before what God was preparing could actually come into view? And here is the part I need you to hear carefully. You may already be seeing evidence that something has changed, even if you cannot explain it yet. Maybe the communication became strange. Maybe there was distance. Maybe circumstances kept creating reasons for you two not to move forward. Maybe one of you was emotionally unavailable. Maybe timing never seemed to cooperate. Or maybe there was no obvious reason at all. You simply knew there was something standing between you. And that is what makes this message different. Because sometimes God does not remove a relationship. Sometimes He removes what has been blocking the relationship from becoming what it was supposed to become. But before you assume that means this person is automatically your spouse, I want you to stay with me, because there's a difference between emotional attachment and divine direction. And if you miss that difference, you can mistake your desire for God's confirmation. So the question is not simply, are we coming back together? The deeper question is this: what had to be removed before either of you could truly move forward? That question matters because the obstacle may not have been another person. It may not have been distance. It may not have been money. It may not have been your past. It may have been something much harder to recognize: a mindset, a fear, a season, a wound, a pattern, or a version of either one of you that was not yet ready for what you were praying for. And this is where I want you to slow down and think about your own story. Have you noticed that some things which used to feel impossible are suddenly becoming less complicated? Have certain circumstances started changing without you forcing them? Has your heart become calmer about this person? Have you stopped feeling the same desperation you once felt? That may seem small, but sometimes the first sign that God is moving is not an external event. It is an internal change. Philippians 1:6 says, "He which hath begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ." Notice the order. The work begins in you. Before God changes the situation around you, He may first change what is happening inside you. And that's important because you may have been asking God to move them when God was preparing to move something in you. You may have been asking for a message from them. God may have been preparing you for maturity. You may have been asking for reconciliation. God may have been dealing with the reason reconciliation would have failed before. You may have been asking, "Lord, when will they come?" while heaven was asking, "Are you ready for what you have been praying to receive?" That question can be uncomfortable, but it can also be freeing. Because if God is removing an obstacle, you do not have to manipulate the outcome. You do not have to chase. You do not have to force a conversation. You do not have to keep checking whether they are online. You do not have to manufacture a sign. You can let God reveal what is real. And if this message is already speaking directly to something you have been carrying, I want you to do something simple. Comment, "I am ready." Not because typing those words forces God to do anything. It doesn't. Comment it as a personal declaration that you are willing to let God prepare you, correct you, and lead you instead of allowing fear to lead you. Because there is another layer to this. The final obstacle may have been protecting you. Yes, protecting you. That sounds strange when all you wanted was for the relationship to move forward, but sometimes a closed door is not rejection, sometimes it's restraint. Proverbs 3:5-6 tells us to trust in the Lord with all our heart, not lean on our own understanding, and acknowledge Him in our ways so He can direct our paths. You may have looked at the delay and called it abandonment. God may have called it preparation. You may have looked at silence and called it loss. God may have been using the silence to expose what noise was hiding. And perhaps the most difficult part is this. You might have wanted God to remove the obstacle because you wanted the person, but God may be removing the obstacle because He wants you to become the person who can recognize His will without confusing it with your own longing. That's a much deeper work. Before we go further, I want to share something for those of you who have been asking, what should I be doing while I'm waiting? I created a 30-day prayer and preparation workbook for people who don't want to waste this season. Inside, you'll find daily scripture, guided prayers, reflection questions, and practical exercises designed to help you grow spiritually, prepare your heart for a God-honoring marriage, and draw closer to Christ while you wait. If you're ready to make this season one of growth instead of frustration, you'll find the link in the description below. Now come back to the question, what was the final obstacle? Because I do not believe the answer is simply, they were not ready. There is something more specific you need to recognize. And once you recognize it, you may understand why the timing had to be different. You may understand why certain doors closed, why certain conversations never happened, why certain opportunities disappeared, and why, despite all of it, the connection never completely mattered to you. There is a reason God sometimes allows a relationship to reach a place where human effort can no longer carry it. Because when your hands finally let go, you can discover whether God was actually holding it. And what I'm about to show you is how to recognize the difference between an obstacle God has removed and a situation you are simply hoping will change. That distinction could protect your heart, and it could change the way you interpret everything that happens next. So stay with me, because the final obstacle may already be gone. You just may not have recognized what its removal looks like yet. The final obstacle may not have been the distance between you. It may have been the fear surrounding the relationship. Fear of rejection, fear of being hurt again, fear that you were waiting for something that would never happen. And sometimes God has to deal with that fear before He allows you to see what is actually possible. Because if fear controls you, even a good opportunity can look dangerous. You may run from what God is bringing because you are still reacting to what happened before. But listen carefully. You are not being asked to chase this person. You are being asked to trust God enough to let Him reveal the truth. Isaiah 41:10 says, "Fear thou not, for I am with thee." That means you do not have to manufacture certainty. You can walk forward without knowing every detail. And perhaps that's what has changed. You are becoming less desperate for an answer. You are becoming more willing to wait. You are beginning to understand that if this person is truly part of God's plan, you will not have to destroy your peace to keep the connection alive. You will see consistency. You will see effort. You will see maturity. You will see actions begin to match words. Jesus said in Matthew 7:20, "By their fruits ye shall know them." So do not build your future on one message. Do not build it on one dream. Do not build it on one coincidence. Watch the fruit. Watch what happens when both people have the freedom to choose. Watch whether the relationship moves towards honesty, peace, commitment, and Christ. That's where real confirmation becomes stronger. And there is something beautiful about this season. God may be removing the obstacle without giving you the entire answer at once. He may be teaching you to recognize His hand without demanding that He explain every step. Proverbs 3:5 says, "Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not to thine own understanding, and acknowledge Him in thy ways, so He can direct thy paths." You may have looked at the delay and called it uncertainty. God may have been teaching you to trust. You may have looked at the silence and called it uncertainty. God may have been teaching you to recognize His hand. You may have looked at the distance and called it uncertainty. God may have been teaching you to allow His timing. So if communication returns, do not panic. If it does not return immediately, do not panic. If circumstances begin changing, pay attention. If nothing changes yet, keep growing. Because your assignment is not to make the relationship happen. Your assignment is to become the person God is calling you to become. And if marriage is part of what God has for you, preparation matters. That's why I created the 30-day prayer and preparation workbook. If you have been asking, what should I be doing while I'm waiting? This workbook gives you something practical. For 30 days, you will have scripture, guided prayers, reflection questions, and practical exercises designed to help you grow spiritually and prepare your heart for a God-honoring marriage and draw closer to Christ while you wait. You can find the 30-day prayer and preparation workbook through the link in the description below. Do not waste this season wondering every day what someone else is doing.